This is the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, show 57. How many offers should you have? Are you dreaming of a life of financial freedom and more time to spend with your loved ones? Want to build your business to support that dream? You need Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. Become a lifestyle builder at joinlifestylebuilders.com. All right. I love today's topic, by the way.
I was going to say, it comes up very often, so I'm very glad we're discussing it here.
I am too. And I also think it goes along really well with another concept out there, and that's how many water bottles should you have?
A lot.
No. You leave water bottles everywhere. And they're always not even all the way empty. Like you couldn't bother to finish the last sip of water in the bottom.
All right. So there's a strategy behind this.
No.
We need to stay hydrated. As entrepreneurs, as high achievers, we need to stay hydrated. So one of the best ways to do that is to have water accessible at arm's length.
Yeah.
And by having water bottles everywhere, it doesn't matter what room of the house I'm in, I can grab some water. Or
like most people out there, you pick one. You have one water bottle that you carry around with you from place to place.
You know what?
And also, you finish that water bottle. You don't leave it halfway empty and then go get a new one.
I bet if we brought our daughter on here, she would agree that having water bottles everywhere is nice because she appreciates that when she's thirsty, she can get a drink of water.
Because daddy leaves them everywhere. Yeah, this is also similar to like that whole finishing a project before you start a new project because you're pretty bad at that sometimes too.
Yeah, but
so maybe that's where the water bottle thing comes from.
But that is a bigger issue. The water bottle, not so much. Not finishing projects, different story. But anyways, so let's get into the topic.
Let's get into the topic. So let's talk about the difference here because what we're really going to focus on is having multiple offers versus having one offer.
Well, and let me tell you where I see this all the time. People go back to kind of this quote or this fact that was stated somewhere that they say millionaires have on average 7 streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
So what most people then correlate that into is that because a millionaire is doing this, I should do the same thing. But what they miss out on is when that millionaire started, they started with one.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where you don't want to look at somebody that's multiple steps ahead of you. You don't want to look at what they're doing.
Because they're doing different things.
Because when you level up your business, you're going to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do is say, okay, back when they were at my level and they started, what did they do? And the people that are successful started with one thing.
Yep.
You know, so I just want to kind of call that out because what happens far too often is people take that and then they say, oh, well, this is a reason that I should have multiple offers.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's also very prevalent in this whole passive income thing that everyone's talking about. Oh, well, I want to just have passive income. I want to have multiple things paying me money while I sleep. That is great in theory, but in reality, it doesn't matter how many offers you put out there if you haven't, number one, figured out that people actually want to buy them. Number two, figured out your strategy behind finding people to buy them. And number three, you got to have all of your stuff like figured out on the back end. You can't just plop out a bunch of stuff and be like, oh, I'm going to sell all these 5 things and I'm just going to have money coming in with no effort on my part. You know, even with effort on your part, you may not sell those 5 things.
Well, and what a lot of people run into, the other thing that kind of causes people to end up in this scenario is it's exciting to start something new. You were just talking about the half-finished projects. You get this idea and it's so excited to kind of get it all going, but it usually gets tough somewhere around the middle because now like things are not coming together and there's different issues. And this is where that shiny object syndrome comes in where it's like, man, this is tough. But now I listen to a podcast or someone else says something and it's like, oh, I could totally do that. And then you kind of shift over into there. So what you need to have is just that perseverance to take one thing through completion. And then like what we always tell people is get that one thing so that it's effective, so it's working.
Yep.
And then work on making it more efficient. And then you can kind of do the next thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a quick pause and I'm going to ask you if you're listening to this. I want to know how many offers you currently have and how many did you start with? And no shame in posting these up, by the way, because if you've seen our history, you've known that Tom has been one in the past to start many things all at the same time or really close together. So we've been there. But I just want to know from you guys that are listening what those, kind of what that looked like for you. And I think another part that we don't see or that we don't realize is think about like kids when you go down a store aisle and it's toys galore. When you've got 30, 40, 50 toys that you're looking at, it is really hard for those kids to make a decision. When you say you can pick one toy and you got this much money in your wallet, you get to pick one. A lot of them don't know what to do. Oh, well, I want this one, but how come I can't have this one and this one? And then I want that one over there, but that's too much money. And, like it just overwhelms your brain with, I have to pick one out of all this stuff. So it's the same concept with your audience and your potential customers. If you're blasting them with these 6 different things or 8 different things, like, well, I've got this course, but if you don't want the course, I've got this over here, and then I've got coaching, and then I've got this product, and it's all over the place. They're getting confused. They're getting mixed messages as to what you're even trying to sell them. So oftentimes those people that may have bought from you won't buy anything because they are overwhelmed.
Well, I mean, think about if you've ever been to a restaurant that just has a crazy expansive menu.
One that does? Cheesecake Factory. It takes me like an hour to figure out what I want to eat.
Yeah, and part of what happens is sometimes, like at a restaurant, you're obviously going to order something because you came there to eat. But sometimes if somebody comes to your business or maybe comes to your website and you've got so many things, they get, I forget what the term is, but basically they get like analysis paralysis because they don't want to make the wrong decision. And that's why, like, oftentimes if you've been somewhere that has a simpler menu or only is offering like one thing or a couple things, it's easier for you because you're only deciding between a couple things rather than like, a whole plethora.
Well, let's talk about the difference in quality.
Yeah.
Because that just brings to mind, like I mentioned Cheesecake Factory. Not that Cheesecake Factory isn't delicious, but if you're going to compare Cheesecake Factory to, say, like a fancy Italian restaurant that has 3 options for appetizers, 4 options for entrees, and then 4 options for dessert, odds are the meal you have there is going to be way, way, way different in quality than if you're just going to a chain restaurant that has 30 million options on the menu.
And then if you're the owner of those 2 businesses, you're going to be able to charge a lot more if you're the fancy Italian restaurant because, you are known for that. Like that's your specialty.
It's your zone of genius.
Absolutely. So people are going to pay more for that because they're going to go there on special occasions and stuff like that.
Well, and they've taken the time. They've put their art into it. It's a craft, and they put the passion into that product that they're selling to make it the best thing on the market. Whereas, a lot of other places where it's a chain restaurant, it's like, well, it's good enough. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Your customers aren't going to keep coming back for, it's good enough. Their products are good enough. They want the good stuff.
Absolutely.
So if you can put all your focus, all your time and energy and brain power into that one offer that you're going to sell, that one product, and then you're getting feedback, you're improving that one thing until your customers are raving fans, then that's when you think about, what else can I offer these people?
Well, I was going to say, so let's kind of walk through each scenario because it's not that either one's necessarily bad, but, understanding when you should kind of have one versus the other. So, if you have a single offer, which is essentially what we're recommending when you guys start out, you can have all of this focus, like all the stuff you were just talking about, right? And, if you guys have listened to the last couple episodes, that we had, with Ariana and I, we talked about identifying your customers and then identifying your customer journey. And this is really kind of the culmination of that to say, once you figure that out, you first want to pick one offer that's going to satisfy that group of customers and their need, as they progress down their journey to ultimately buy and get their problem solved. So when starting out, like picking that one offer is the way to go. And if you guys want, I think, what were those show like?
55 and 53.
And 53.
Yeah.
But if you guys want links to it, we'll put them on the show notes page at tomandariana.com/57.
Definitely 53 and 51. 55 was content.
You're right. Yep. But yes, links to all the shows or all the episodes on the show notes page.
The brain is working.
But yeah, like you said, And then not only does it make it easier for your customer, but all the supporting processes. Because here's the thing, when you create like one product or one service, there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to figure out the marketing, the messaging, what it is,
who it's for.
Yep. And then you got to go and do all the work to actually market that and get it converting and get people buying and get the feedback like you were talking about. If you're now splitting that across multiple things, it just adds so much work onto your plate, and it's going to take a lot more stress and put it on you.
And it adds a lot of complexity to things. It's just a lot to keep track of. Having multiple offers at the same time, it's a lot of balls in the air. And, not for nothing, but there's a lot more that can go wrong if you are trying to develop those two things at the same time and figuring things out at the same time. It's like there's so much more possibility for something to be off and completely ruin your focus or ruin the results that you could have had you taken one at a time and focused on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, so even like with us with the 3 businesses, so the first 2 businesses we really don't spend a lot of time on because we've put systems in place. We've got
and we
teams
built
in
them
place,
one at a time.
and we built them one at a time. But even with that, it's still a challenge sometimes because instead of us just focusing on one business, we have these other 2 things. So like when we do planning, we've got a plan for each of those, right? Even though it doesn't take a ton of time, it's one more thing on our plate.
Mm-hmm.
And what you'll find is to ultimately have success, the more you can focus and the more you can get things off of your plate so that you have like less just distractions, less stress and, things on your plate, like you said, the easier it's going to be for you to be successful. But if you've got all these different things that you feel like you got to do and you're overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
that's then potentially going to cause you to stop, get burned out, frustrated, etc.
Yeah. And I mean, again, we're not saying that it's a bad thing to have multiple offers, because one thing that you'll find once you've taken the time to build out your first offer / product and you've done all the work behind it, you've put all the time in and you've got a successful thing going, people are buying and it's basically selling itself because of all the stuff you've put in place, then that's when you go back and you look at your audience, because most likely you're going to have multiple segments in your audience, or you're going to have people that are at different points in their journey. So one thing that you can do now that you have that one thing that's doing really well is branch out. Mm-hmm. And you start to figure out like, okay, what are the other problems my audience has? Or now that I've solved that problem, what's the next problem people have after that? Can I solve that? And now you've got offers that go along with your business and they go along with your audience's customer journey. So that starts to make a little bit more sense in your business. You've got different sources of income, which is always a good thing, because if something were to ever happen to one, now you've got a second one that you can put your time and effort into. But that's saying that your first one is doing really well. Yep. And it's not taking a lot of time and energy from you to run that or to sell that. So you have the time and energy to put into the new offer, because again, if you're trying to start a new one before the first one is kind of set in a little box and ready to go, now it's like you keep getting pulled back to fix things. And then you've got to, well, now I can't spend the energy on the fun thing that I'm starting. And, that's when the mental stuff starts to get in there and you start to like cycle into never finishing one thing and always starting the new things. And it can just be a really slippery slope to go down.
I was going to say, and so the episode where we did about the customer journey, if you guys want more, we actually dove in and kind of showed examples. I think we used like a pool service. Mm-hmm. Of how you can start with one and then progress that into others. But the point that I want to go back to, I forget where I saw this, but somebody gave me like a visualization one time. They're like, imagine like a stream flowing down a hill. And, let's say like maybe the ice is melting and that's what's kind of creating the stream. Mm-hmm. If you have one stream and all the water from that ice is going into that one stream, that's going to allow it to build up and be good. When you then want to do like a second stream, you're going to tap off of the first stream, and that's going to mean there's less going into the first stream, and then you're going to divert some of that off into the second one. But if your first stream isn't flowing really well or with a lot of water, when you try to tap that off, you're going to suffer. You're going to hurt the first one, and then you're never going to get the second one off the ground. Yeah. Same thing with offers. If you're trying to get the second one going before you really perfect that first one, it's going to take not only your time and energy, but you're ultimately going to make less money because you're spreading your resources across those. But with that said, when you do decide to do a second offer, I'm a huge fan of, kind of along the lines you were talking about, stick with the same customer base and then just see what they need next. You know, when we look at our businesses, I was talking to somebody the other day about this. People are like, how did you guys go from real estate to a wine and liquor store to like a coaching and training business for entrepreneurs? And there was a lot of challenge with that because we really couldn't take much benefit from the real estate business to do the wine and liquor store. It was kind of starting from scratch.
Yep. Completely different. Well, not completely different customer base, but different customer base, looking for different
customer base, different marketing, everything. And then we utilized some of that knowledge when we started the coaching and training business, but it wasn't like we could use anything else from that. If I could, you know, recommend on how people should go about this, I've seen people that maybe they started like a marketing agency and then they got really good at marketing and then they maybe created a piece of software to support their marketing agency or those customers. So it was directly related to the business they were doing or the product they already have. And then they just saw another problem and they solved that need. Yeah. That way you're leveraging resources, you're leveraging everything you're already doing. And now instead of like starting from scratch, you're building off of it. So I think that's a really good way when you go to do the second product or the second business of how to do it.
Yeah. Now, I know there's probably a lot of you out there thinking like, well, I have multiple things that I'm either working on or thinking about working on. So how do I know which one to focus on first? And that is a great question that we have ourselves had to answer at some points in our journey. And the answer I'm going to give you is that completely 100% depends on you and your audience. Because honestly, you've got to look at what you are trying to do, what you're trying to create in your business. What are the goals that you have? And which of those offers is going to be the most aligned with that goal? So, I mean, first question, which one's going to get you there faster? So, you know, a lot of people will look at some of the different things they can offer. And this is why we always talk about how service-based businesses have that ability to grow to that goal that they have with like making an income faster, because you can charge more with a service-based business.
You can charge more, and then you also don't have to physically create anything.
There's not a lot of overhead.
I mean, like literally, if you have a skill set in web development, it's not like you're having to make a website ahead of time and then go and sell it. You're selling somebody on the need for a website, and then you're creating it after the fact.
Yeah, so we'll take ours as an example. With the coaching business, we had to do the offer for the high-level coaching before the membership, because the membership is such a lower cost offer that it takes us way, way longer, and we have to do way more work on the back end to hit our goals that we have for our business. Whereas the coaching, you know, you get a couple clients a month and you're there. You've hit your goals. Then you can go and work on that second offer once you've perfected it.
Well, I was going to say, so this is an activity that I take entrepreneurs that we're working with through. We have them fill out this lean canvas, this one-page business plan,
which you've mentioned before.
Which I've mentioned before.
A couple times.
And, you know, we'll put a link to the episode where we talked about it on the show notes page at tomandariana.com/57. But what I'll have them do is I'll have them fill that out for like 2 different offers if they're not
all
sure
the ones you're thinking of in your head.
Yep. And at the bottom of this, basically there's a box for what are you going to charge, what's it going to cost you, and then there's a break even. How many customers do I need? So like we'll kind of do that for the 2 different offers. And then what we'll look at is like how much money does somebody need to be bringing home to meet their goals, right? And so we'll do a little bit of math, but not too much. So let's say people need, they want to bring home $5,000 a month. Quick math, that probably means your business has to sell about $10,000 because you got to pay yourself, pay taxes, and pay your operating expenses, what it takes to run your business. So then we'll kind of say, okay, so we got to sell $10,000 a month. let's go and look at your two offers and see what that would look like if we pick this one versus that one. So if we picked, let's say the service offer, maybe this person was charging $1,000. So that means that in order to make 10,000, they've got to sell 10 of those service packages. If we take like the second offer, maybe it's a product offer, and maybe they're selling it for 100. Yep. So now, excuse me. So now they've got to sell a lot more in order to get there, right? They're selling what, 100 of them? Yeah. So then the question, so now we kind of lay it out and we say, okay, which one of these seems like it's going to be a better fit for you? Selling 10 of these at $1,000 or selling 100 of these at $100? And what happens to most people is they're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to sell 100 of these? Because then if we start kind of working it backwards, in order to sell 10 of those, you know, let's say out of all the people you talk to, you can sell half the people. So you got to talk to 20 people. If you're going to sell half the people out of the 100 products, you might have to talk to 200 people then, you know? So you just start looking at that and it's like, okay, that's very overwhelming. And that's why with our coaching business, we started with what I would say is the middle of our offer. And that was a coaching contract with people where we help them one-on-one. Once we got that kind of established and running, then we said, well, let's look at the entry-level offers that will kind of lead up to that. And that's where we have our Lifestyle Builders mentorship. It's a low-cost monthly package. And then we've got kind of a transitional plan that we put in, which is VIP, which is kind of a hybrid between you get the training and stuff in Lifestyle Builders and you get some coaching, but it's not as intense as a coaching package. So for somebody that has a business that's like, it's starting to grow, you want some more one-on-one kind of support, but you're not quite ready.
It's the transitioning offer. It's the offer in between.
Absolutely. So then you can get that there. But so what you guys can see that we're kind of doing there is we had our core offer, which was coaching, and then we're building offers that, you know, help people at the beginning and lead them up so that they continue having more success, so that we can then help them with coaching. And then what you'll see in the future is that we'll start going beyond coaching and say, how do we offer more value to people that need more beyond just what our coaching?
Yeah, and it's all, I mean, it's all us talking to our audience, talking to you guys who are listening, and, you know, really figuring out where else is it that people are needing support, or what is it that our offers are missing that people still need? Because that's how we're ultimately going to build out what else it is that we offer to people.
Yeah, well, and the beautiful thing with this is that it's all the same customer base. So it's not like we're saying this offer is for customer segment 1 and then this is for customer segment 2. But we've built up all these people for segment 1 and we got to start over with segment 2. You know, like I see people all the time that are like, I want to do this new offer, and now I'm thinking that like I need a separate Facebook page, I need a separate thing. Right there, that just starts adding a whole bunch of complexity, because now it's like, okay, well, now instead of just posting to one platform on one name, now you're trying to post to one platform on 2 names, and everything else just gets a lot more complicated. So especially as you go to scale, you want to keep things as simple as possible, not add complexity in, because it's that complexity that makes everything else more challenging.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately it's, you have to pick the offer that your potential customers are raising their hand and telling you they want, because you might say, oh, well, I've got these 2 offers and this one's going to serve me the best. It's going to help me reach my goals. But if no one in your audience is raising their hand saying, I'm going to buy that from you, and even maybe prepaying for it and giving you money, that may not be the right offer to choose, because although it works well for you, it doesn't work well for those people that you're trying to sell it to. So, I mean, yeah, look at your goals, look at what you are looking to achieve, but you've also got to listen to the people that you are serving, because they're the ones that are going to tell you, well, that offer's too high priced for me, so we need something else. And I know it's like, oh, well, I only wanted to sell 10 of the $1,000 things. You might have to choose the 100 of the $100 things based on what your audience is telling you. Well, I was going to say, so that's a great example. So when that comes up, you have one of 2 decision points. It's either that person isn't in my customer segment and I'm not going to work with them and I'm going to stick with my offer and I just need to find people that are. Or I do want to work with that person and this service or this product isn't in alignment with them, so I'm going to take that feedback, shift my solution, and then give it back to them. So you can pick one of 2 things. The key thing is to
have those conversations, get that feedback,
Yep.
and then decide.
Well, there's a lot of people that have done that, pivoted completely and said, well, I was trying to sell this thing to this audience. Turned out it wasn't the right people, and I moved elsewhere, changed it up a little bit, and I found the right people, and now I'm selling that thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's completely doable. You just have to pick one of those two paths.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I don't want you guys to do is to give up too fast, or one person gives you a piece of feedback and then you suddenly shift everything, because we've seen that as well.
Yeah, take everything with a grain of salt.
Everyone has their opinion, and you want to get the feedback, but what you want to do is then basically kind of take it all in and say, all right, is there a theme to the feedback? You know,
am I hearing that from multiple
if
people,
everybody
or was it
says the
just
same
one
thing, yep.
random person?
And then also look at the source of the feedback. So feedback from existing customers that already know you, have already purchased, should be weighted a lot higher than feedback from somebody that's never purchased anything from you. But for some reason, we often will either treat those the same, or that person that's like criticizing us, we focus on that.
Yeah.
So it's important to keep that in perspective. And I think you actually talked about, when we talked about Ask, the story Ryan Levesque shared about Lego. And basically what they were doing is they were asking for that feedback. And initially they took it from like their non-customers or people that weren't buying a lot. And then ultimately they found more success when they went to their like hardcore raving fans. And that was the feedback that they needed to weigh heavily.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So I feel like we've given everyone a ton of good information today, all about offers and how to pick one. What is the action you want people to take after today's episode? Notice I have changed it from homework. We are now going to call them actions.
Yeah. Well, and it's action's important, because every day we should be taking action, because even if it's not necessarily getting you what you wanted, the result, ultimately it's going to give you more information to be able to make the next decision and take the next action. And for people, I'll just kind of give a quick tangent and then we'll get into this.
A quick tangent.
I have triple screens at my desk, and on the top of each screen I have a quote that I look at every day that kind of drives me forward. The first one is called "Embrace the Suck," and this actually comes from the military. And basically what this means is that there's going to be days where things are going to suck. There's going to be hardships and challenges that you got to go through, but embrace that, because there's good things on the other side. And so when things are tough, or when we have a bad day, that really helps kind of focus me. The second one is keep moving forward.
That's your favorite.
Doesn't matter what happens.
Meet the Robinsons.
Keep moving forward. Yep. I mean, there's a Walt Disney quote, and this is where the action comes in, because as long as you're continuing to take action, and then even if it's not getting you necessarily where you want it to be, it's going to give you the information so that you can keep moving forward. And then finally, the third one, just to wrap it all out, is people need you. And I think that's one that, a mentor said to me a couple of years ago, and it really kind of put things in perspective. It's like, look, we're all going to get in our own heads as entrepreneurs, but at the end of the day, realize that you're doing this to serve people, to serve your audience. So that's kind of what keeps me going. But tying back to the action, what I want people to do is to basically review what offers you have today. Do you have one? Do you have multiple? And if you have multiple, what I want you to do is to just kind of take a look at how much money is coming in from each of the offers, as well as how much time you're spending. Because when I do this with clients, what will happen oftentimes is that a client will say, all right, well, I'm getting 10% of my income from this offer, but I'm spending 50% of my time. That seems like it's not really a good, a good thing. Whereas this other thing, I'm getting 70% of my revenue, but I'm only spending 20% of my time. We want to actually cut the offer that's not as profitable and taking more time, and focus more on the one that is more profitable and taking less time.
Yeah, I like that action. Reviewing what you've got. That leaves me for an action for the day. I'm going to say go and ask for feedback from your current customers and see what they say about your current offer, if there's any improvements or anything that you can do to kind of solidify that. And yeah, we'll keep it simple.
I like it.
All right. What's your book today?
Okay. So it's not directly related to offers, but it's, kind of there. Excuse me. It's called The One Thing. The surprisingly Excuse me.
Man, you need some tea over there.
I know. Surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results. And basically what this book is all about is picking the thing to focus on that's going to drive you forward. And I'm going to totally butcher like the question they asked, but it's like, what's the one thing where if you completed that would make everything else that you were supposed to do like not important or something like that. But it's basically saying that, what's great about this is that I would do corporate consulting for a long time. And in corporate, there's all this focus on like, you need to be a good multitasker. The reality is we can't multitask. Mm-hmm. And when you try to do that, you're actually less effective. So I just started referring people to this book because it gives you more of the science and all of the stuff around why focusing on one thing is important. And not only is this going to help your productivity, but it's going to help you realize why focusing on one offer is really important.
Yeah. And Tom talked about the lean canvas in today's episode, which is actually something that we use all the time. And it's a really big part of our Concept to Cash course, which is inside of our Lifestyle Builders program. So if you're somebody that's listening to this episode is like, oh my gosh, I need help. I can't decide which offer I should do. I've gone through all these steps. Come and join us in Lifestyle Builders, and we will answer all of your Qs because we do Q&As every week, and we are in the group all the time. You have full access to Tom and I in there and all the other members that can help you as well. So think about coming and checking that out, and we'll help you on your way.
Yeah, and the Concept to Cash course actually walks through as videos and templates for this entire process to go and figure all this out. So if you guys want to check that out, you can come and join us at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
Yeah. All right. I think it's been another great episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and Lifestyle Builders.
And as always, remember, it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Are you a Lifestyle Builders podcast fan? We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to tomandariana.com/iTunes and leave us a review. Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Do you want real-time guidance and support from seasoned entrepreneurs who really care about your results? If you're nodding your head or awkwardly shouting yes in public somewhere, then we invite you to join Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. You can find out more at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
Your life, your business, your way. Join Family Entrepreneur Life. Join Family Entrepreneur Life.